Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, today we're going to talk about infrastructure. That's right, that exciting subject of infrastructure. I know, it's not exciting. It's boring to talk about infrastructure. That's what my little 8-year-old girl, when she doesn't like something, it's boring. That's what she tells us. It's boring. But there's things going on that I think we should definitely be talking about. You should be aware of if you're not yet, because I think there's things happening. Some of the stuff that I'm going to show you today, I have no proof whatsoever that it wasn't just an accident, but it seems to be a lot of strange coincidences going on, and we want to cover that today in today's video. I want to mention before I get started is that the next local meeting, the next local meeting that I'm having here, that we are hosting, is July 11th. That is in kind of the central Missouri Ozarks in Texas County. If you are interested in attending or finding out more information about it, we have these on a monthly basis, and they're really good. So if you live within a driving distance, last time we had someone drive up from Florida. They had other reasons to be here, but they did come to the meeting. So if you're willing to make the drive, or if you have other reasons to be here, it's not just for people that live in this county or within a certain distance of me. This is just so that we can get to know each other, start building connections and relationships, do a little learning. We have some finger foods there available. It's a big facility, so bring all the kids, because there's a bunch of kids there for them to play with, and we do a little learning, and then a lot of just getting to know each other. So if you can make that on July 11th, the official part of the meeting is between 2 and 4 p.m., but people come early and they stay late just so that they can mingle, and that is okay. But there's a email, probably you've already seen it down below, and you can email me that if you're wanting more specific information or directions or whatever to the meeting. All right, move along with the video now. You've probably seen this morning's news, and if you haven't, I'll put it up right here. Tool Incorporated up in Illinois had an explosion. Move along with the video now. You've probably seen this morning's news, and if you haven't, I'll put it up right here. Tool Incorporated up in Illinois had an explosion. The factory just blew up, and as of the making of this video, they had not determined what the reason for it was, for it to explode. And if you've seen some of the video, this thing, I mean, it produced a massive ball of flame when this thing went up. And they're saying that no one has been hurt, other than I think there may have been a couple of firemen that's received some minor injuries, but no one in the factory was injured, which is amazing considering the explosion. I mean, if you watch the footage, it's quite spectacular, I guess you could say. I'm not specifically saying that this is an attack. I'm not specifically saying that this is done on purpose. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying, though, that it's starting to become strange that there's all kinds of, factories exploding, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And it seems to be concentrated in countries that, kind of don't always get along. I'm going to just put up a few here. One in China recently. This was a gas pipe, I guess it blew. There's been several in Iran in the last couple of weeks. There was an explosion in Russia. There's been a couple over there. This seems to be going on, maybe more than it should. I guess you could say that there's so much news now that we're just able to get this information more than we once were, but it does seem to be pretty strange that we're seeing stuff like these explosions. And then you add to that the cyber attacks on infrastructure and businesses, like the pipeline a few weeks ago, the Colonial Pipeline, and then the JBS meat processing facilities got shut down because of that. add all that together with the fact that it is pretty obvious that the current administration wants to spend trillions of dollars on improving infrastructure. And we've gone over this before, that their infrastructure plan doesn't really include a lot of infrastructure, but that's what they're selling it. They're selling it as an infrastructure plan. It's basically a watered down version of the Green New Deal, which ties in so perfectly with the Great Reset and the agenda that they are putting out, and that they're wanting all nations to join in on, which is spending trillions of dollars upgrading infrastructure to this green new thing, upgrading homes and utilities and getting everyone off of, coal and nuclear and all these other power plants, and making everyone have solar and wind and drive little tiny cars that are electric that only go so far, and reducing your usage of electricity and your usage of carbon fuels and things like that. This is part of their plan, reducing the amount of meat that you take in, up to 90% reduction of animal products. I mean, this is pretty extreme. And it just seems to me that it's a strange coincidence that we have these plans being proposed and being pushed by global organizations and by our administration to do all this stuff when it comes to infrastructure, and all these threats of cyber warfare on our infrastructure. And then we're actually having these things happen. And some of them they're admitting, like the pipeline and the JBS meat processing plant, that those were, cyber warfare attacks upon those systems. But these others, they're a little sketchy sometimes. And it makes me wonder if there's not something being cooked up. And that's what I believe. And I believe that because of the things that are happening, that they're saying, that it seems like, they're trying to set the stage maybe. Maybe some of these are beta tests. Even going back to February, remember back in February when we had that, really cold temperatures and a lot of snow for a lot of the country, including Texas. Texas got hit pretty bad, not necessarily worse than everyone, but it was just so much colder than what is normal down there that amazingly, it just overwhelmed their utility system, and everything was shut down, and lots of people were without power. Remember that whole fiasco? Well, it isn't really over yet. Although no one has said that it's connected to the whole winter problem. As of this morning, ERCOT, which is the utility company that runs the whole state grid there in Texas, they've asked Texans to cut back on their utilities, to turn their thermostats up to 78 or higher, to cut back, not to use dryers and electric stoves and major appliances. And they're asking businesses to do the same, because they say that their system is being overwhelmed. And they believe that as of Monday, which is the day I'm releasing this video, that by Monday afternoon and into Tuesday, that it might be so overwhelmed if people don't cut back, that they would have to start shutting down parts of the grid to keep it from just overloading and causing damage, which would mean brownouts and blackouts, rolling blackouts through Texas. Now, the official story that they're saying it's because of these hot temperatures in Texas. Like it's all of a sudden it's gotten so hot. Now, my wife is from Texas. All of her family are from Texas, and I've been there several times. And while it's warm, it's hot here today. Here in Missouri, it's 93 degrees right now. In middle of June, in most of Texas, 93 would be a pretty cool temperature. It should be at least in the mid to upper 90s for most of Texas right now. And guess what Texas has had that most of the rest of the country hasn't been experiencing? Unseasonably cool temperatures. most of the Midwest and upper Midwest has been melting, and we've talked about this in other videos, have been melting in, triple digit heat, just this unbearable, unseasonable, record breaking hot temperatures and dry, very little rain. And we'll talk about that particular subject more in my Patreon video that I'm doing today about the breadbasket of America, where all these crops are. Some of these places haven't had rain for weeks and weeks, and it's been crazy hot. And in Texas, they've had a lot of rain, and it's been kind of unseasonably cool. In fact, we just spoke with some friends of ours that live in Texas, south of Dallas, yesterday, and they said, yeah, it's just been crazy cool, for Texas. It's been really cool. I'm going to put a picture, a screenshot up here. This is from my my phone. I have a weather app that a lot of you do, and the app will give me live temperatures, real-time temperatures for the entire United States. And so this is just the middle of the United States, this screenshot. And I don't know if you can tell, but while Texas isn't technically cool, it's not any hotter right now as of the making of this video. Most all of Texas, it's not any hotter in Texas than it is in Missouri, than it is in Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, even Montana. In fact, Montana is showing some temperatures hotter than way down in West Texas right now. Only right there on the border, some of those border towns are showing triple digit heat. So why is that? Why are they saying that, oh my goodness, the grid is just overwhelmed? Oh, we've got, we just can't handle it. People are going to have to start cutting back on their usage, when Texas really isn't even, number one, they're not into their hot summer, real hot summer. And number two, it's been unseasonably cool. And only just in the last few days, really, has Texas started to kind of warm up to more of its normal temperatures. And they're already saying they can't handle it. I mean, what's it going to be like in August for you folks down in Texas? If you guys can't handle low to mid 90s in your grid in June, what is it going to be in August when it's, 104, 105, 107 degrees in Texas? Again, I'm not making a specific statement that there is something going on. I'm only pointing out some various information that seems to be kind of strange that there's a lot of this stuff going on. We've gone through and still going through a lot of the supply chain problems, supply chain crisis, everything from going back to the stuck ship over in the Middle East to, ships anchored off of the Los Angeles port, not able to unload, and the shipping container shortage, and the pallet shortage, and all these logistic problems and supply shortages, like cans to put soups and vegetables in, shortages of that, even down to the shortages of the paper that they print labels on. It's just one thing after another. And then now we're having all these strange things happen with infrastructure and businesses, even though, say, the company today, the Kim tool, they're not, I guess, not infrastructure, but certainly will affect, they're one of the largest producers in the country of lubricants, of industrial lubricants, grease for bearings and for marine use and farm use. And that building just went up in smoke. So how much is that going to affect supplies of those items and the prices of those items when we're already dealing with a very inflated economy, and one of the largest producers of this stuff just went up in smoke? And I want to add one little thing to that. It may not mean anything, but it's interesting that Kim Tools, the company that the manufacturer blew up this morning, the parent company is Berkshire Hathaway, which is owned by Warren Buffett. May not mean anything, but I thought I'd throw that out there. The bigger point that I'm trying to make is that it just seems a little strange that there's a lot of explosions going on around the world with countries that seems to not really get along, or at least are given the appearance that they're not getting along. And then here in the United States, there's just this growing effort, or growing, not effort, but growing amount of attacks and accidents when it comes to our infrastructure and supply chain and major businesses that support both the infrastructure and supply chain. You know, it was just, I believe, last week that the FBI director spoke before Congress and stated that the cyber warfare thing is a major problem, and that they have been intercepting hundreds of potential attacks and all this kind of stuff, which is, in my mind, they're probably opening the door to say, see, we warned you with all these attacks. And then go on and blame it on terrorists, when they probably need to just look at their own, NSA or something like that. But I didn't say that. Anyways, folks, I think this is a serious issue, and I think this is one of these major issues happening right now in our times, which is it's a reason for you to be prepping up, folks. I mean, infrastructure, supply chain. Those are major issues. These infrastructures attacks. There's another YouTuber that I'm not going to knock the guy. He's a huge channel, Canadian Prepper. But I don't always agree with him. He puts out high quality content. I don't always agree with him, but he did put out a recent video that I watched, and it's a little like kind of a mini movie that he's started doing those. And he's talking about, in the show, this little mini 15-minute movie or whatever, is basically this cyber war, an actual cyber war starts, and what it would be like. And I think he's done a very good job of it, of showing how many things would be affected with these attacks, these cyber attacks on infrastructure, water treatment plants and water pumping facilities to get water to people, electricity, hospitals, foods, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be catastrophic if this continues. And everything that they're saying is that it is going to continue. And I think personally it's being done for whoever's doing it, whatever's really happening. I think it's happening so that they can have a much better excuse to say, see, our Green New Deal plan, our Agenda 2030 plan, our Great Reset plan, it would fix all these problems. It would fix all these problems. All these infrastructure problems, all these problems with supply chains, all these problems with these chemicals and different companies. If we just switched to this reset, if we did this big reset, then it would just fix all of our problems. We only need to spend trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of your money. That's all we need to do, and to make you even more slaves to us. But it would fix all these problems. So, keep watching. I said a week or two ago that I expected more things to be happening when it comes to attacks, whether they be cyber warfare or actual physical attacks. And again, I'm not saying these things that I've pointed out, like today at Chem Tools, are specific attacks, but it wouldn't surprise me if it were. And I think I'll just leave it at that. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.